Yeah, hello, this is Baba in for you. I just want to say one or two things concerning the whole Russian and Ukraine saga. I call it saga because we are seeing the physical war now, but for years this thing has been building up since what happened in 2014. Then later the whole scenario that has been going on. We all can perfectly agree that nobody in his normal sense would support what Putin is doing to the Ukrainian people, especially the civilians, men, women, children. We knew that this thing is going to come up. It can take long, but everybody that has been reading and that has known the history and the whole things that has built up after the breakup of the Soviet Union knows that one day we'll be on the verge of such saga or such invasion or such war. But nobody has contemplated when and how it's going to happen. But we all, or most people, we want to agree with me that sooner or later we know that this scenario is going to play out. We Africans, especially we Africans, we tend to jump into things. We tend to try to portray ourselves as good people. And I always tell those around me that you don't have to portray yourself as a good person or try to demonstrate that you're a good person. You just have to always play along justice, fairness, equity, and mutual respect. We know that Putin invaded Ukraine, and the invasion is against global international peace, international laws, and everything, whatever you can call it. And nobody would want to support Putin on that. But let us look at it on the other hand of it, because I always tell people that the Western ideology and the Caucasian mentality will always want you to either choose one. They give you two options to either choose one of it. They don't want you to have this neutral option, or they don't want you to choose the two or decide not to choose any. They give you, it's either you choose God or Satan. Is either you choose Christianity or Islam. Is either you choose good or bad. Is either you choose communism or capitalism. Or some will say is either you choose communism or socialism or outgrown capitalism. A lot of things they just want to cook up there for you. And when you say no, they term you to be uncivilized. They term you to be undemocratic. The European mentality or the Western mentality is always you have to buy their ideas, you have to buy their own way of seeing things. And when you see it differently, then you're barbaric, you're uncivilized and other things like that. Let us be very fair. Fairness is very, very important. When you come to a table ground and you understand the powers in play, then you must try to balance everything so that the weak will know that the sledgehammer of the strong, can be controlled. And the strong will know that the opinion, the diversity of the weak should be respected, But when you come to this scenario in which Ukraine, for sure, is a sovereign nation, just as Iraq was a sovereign nation, just as Libya was a sovereign nation, just as the whole Africa were nationalities that some people sat in Germany, decided the borders, the boundaries of people they don't know. They don't know our culture, they don't know our people, they don't know the way we've been living. They just came on, invaded the whole Africa with the mindset of trying to call it colonization. They want to make us civil. And who is telling the Western that they are more civil than Africans? Before the invasion of the Western world, British, Spain, Germany, and France, or whatever you call it, before they invaded Africa, don't forget that the Portuguese started trading with Africa. You know, they saw the cities, they saw the Benin Empire, they saw the Malians, they saw the Senegalese, you know, they saw a whole, you know, the Sultan, they saw the Jaws, they saw the Kano Empire, you know, they saw the way Africans were living. And it was very organized. When Europeans were still believing that God is the one that enthrones a king, Africans already knew that it is the people, the decision of the people, that elects the king or the ruler or the leader. And when this leader fails the mandate of the people, they force him to commit suicide or to go on exile. Africans already knew. The Europeans never knew this thing at that time. So where is the civilization they want to preach to us? So this is where you must understand. Okay, now, for the First World War and the Second World War, we knew, or we know, the role that neighboring country played in facilitating the invasion or the easy penetration of their enemies. We knew the role the Polish people or the Poland played for the Germans and other people to be able to enter Russia. And we knew at that time that Ukraine was part of Russia, or Russia was part of Ukraine. They were one. And so the border wasn't between Russia and Ukraine. The border was between the Soviet Union and Poland. And we knew what happened, how they could penetrate Russia from this. And that is what is playing out now. The Russian Federation is playing, everything is playing out based on history. You know, I always tell people, the devil you know is better than the angel you've not seen. The Russian people know the Polish people. They know the role they've played. And that same role is what Nato, the European Union, OTAN, the American, the United States of America, that is the same role they want the Ukrainian people to play, or they want Ukraine to play in facilitating military bases for them to be able to understand the Russian military strategies and everything, to have bases to be able to monitor Russia. And we all know that Russia is a threat to the so-called Western Bloc. You know, I was telling somebody the other day that we all went to sleep believing that the Cold War has ended, believing that there is no more blocks in the world politics. You know, when the wall of Berlin was crushed, the falling of the wall of Berlin, everybody was jubilating that there is no more blocks, ideological blocks, you know, and historical blocks, and you know that we all are playing in the playground. Then if we are all playing on the playground, why do we still have 5 countries as permanent secretaries in the United Nations? Why don't they make it a democratic scenario, as they always say? There shouldn't be no permanent secretary or no permanent members in the United Nations. Make it a rotational organization. Let there be fair ground for everybody to play. No, but there are some sacred goats, the world powers, and within these world powers, they know what they do, they know how they play their politics, and that is what we are seeing today. Ukraine cannot be stepping on the lion's tail and just believe that they're going to go scot-free like that. I understand the situation. Nobody wants war. We have people there. We have this and that. But that is not the issue. The issue is that, can America allow the Russians to have military bases or a stepping border control where they can spy, where they can monitor Americans' military assets or arsenals or whatever in, let's say, Mexico, in Cuba or whatever. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. That is the situation, and that is how it's supposed to be. So, and let us not forget that when the Soviet Union was dissolved, there was a lot of debt. They incurred a lot of debt. Economic debt. They have a lot of loans they're going to pay back. Nobody asked who paid these loans. The other countries that went out from the Soviet Union, and now we have only the Russian, they never paid this debt. It was the Russian that paid this debt. And they paid this debt on the basis that, look, we are going to bear the burden of all these things. Then some nuclear sites or nuclear arsenals, you have to return it back to them. Then also on an agreement that our border is very important, because the Russian people, they have history. They don't forget their history. We Africans, we easily forget. We are friends to the Europeans, we are friends to the British. No, you cannot be friends to somebody that tried to destroy you, somebody that destroyed your culture, somebody that destroyed your humanity, somebody that destroyed everything about your African origin. And if they have the opportunity, they will still do it again. Don't be carried away. If they have the opportunity, they're gonna do it again. We are seeing it at the lowest opportunity. We are seeing racial discrimination. Look at what is happening at the border of Poland. Look at what is happening for black people, which are students. Most of them are students. Nigerian students, Ghanaian students, South African students, or whatever, from India, from all kinds of all parts of the world. They refuse, a lot of them, to board buses or train to move out. You can see the wickedness in the midst of war, and where everybody is trying to look for the safety of everybody. Even those that don't know where Ukraine is situated, those in Africa, they know it now, because there is solidarity in the African mind. But what of the European mind? Don't get carried away that their concern is the war. No, the European concern is not the war. Their concern is that it is Ukraine, their puppet. It is Ukraine, their European brothers and sisters. If it is in Iraq, it wouldn't be like this. The propaganda wouldn't be like this. You get what I'm saying? So it is a common enemy, and the common enemy is Russia. One. Another thing is that it is their own pride. Their neighbors, be it East Europe or West Europe or whatever. We've seen a lot of footages that is circulating on social media where people are making comparison that Ukraine is a civilized world, Ukraine is a European country, middle class people, this is not Africa, this is not Iraq, this is not Afghanistan. That means what they are telling you is that their concern is not the war. Their concern is that their pride, one of theirs, has been invaded by a common enemy. You get what I'm saying? So, literally what they are telling us is that if they don't care what happens in Africa, what happens in Iraq, what happened in Afghanistan. We know the role that the American government played with Obama during the Libyan restoration and the Libyan conflicts and the Libyan protests. They were arming the rebels or whatever, because if there is an insurrection anywhere and you call yourself a democratic country, you should be able to have or find a way, a civil way, a democratic way, if so you believe in this democracy, a democratic way of impeaching or taking away the government, or bringing down the government. But no, what they did was they killed Gaddafi. And Obama himself said it after he left, that was one of the worst decisions he made. He regretted it. But they killed Gaddafi. The same thing they did in Iraq. That Iraq had this, Iraq had that. Then when they got into there, they saw that it was all social media propaganda. But they killed Saddam Hussein. And look at what Iraq is today. We all knew how the Gulf was more organized when Saddam was there. I don't want to dodge into their internal political affairs. Every people should decide the way they want to rule themselves. The Europeans will come to you and they will tell you that there is what we call parliamentary monarch. Parliamentary monarch. No, you said democracy is the government of the people, by the people and for the people. Then that means there should be a figure which is elected. But the Queen of England is there. They call it parliamentary monarch. In Spain, they have parliamentary monarch. But when you come to some other places, you criticize them for having monarch. You criticize them for having government. In Spain here, you can be re-elected as many times as you want, every 4 years. In the parliament to be the president of Spain, you can be re-elected as many times as you want. There was a Spanish president. He was, I think, for 8 or 10 years. Felipe Gonzalez. He was for 8 or 10 years. So what is the difference? But they want to play to you now that Putin has been for 20 years. And what? If the constitution of Russia permits re-election, that is their problem. I'm a Nigerian, and the Nigerian constitution doesn't permit more than 2 terms. Then that is the Nigerian constitution. If tomorrow we decide to change the Nigerian constitution, then that is the Nigerian people. But how in this world will Britain come to tell me that for having 4 years or for having 8 years, then that is not civilization, that is not democracy? Why they, in their own day, you can re-elect the prime minister as many times as you want, you can re-elect the Spanish president as many times as you want. If America has 4 years of 2 terms, that is American constitution. So if the Russian has this kind of way of re-electing their president as many times as he can, that is their problem. That shouldn't be your problem. But they want you to say that Putin is a dictator. That is Russian problem. Every country, we are all unique. Every country, every people should be able to rule themselves. Let me tell you one thing. The Igbos in Nigeria, they had Republican way of ruling before the British people came. Yes. Republican autonomous communities, where the leaders from the elders and everything, and it was perfectly smooth. But the British will always want you to, or the Western world want you to understand that theirs is the best. So back to the scenario. See, we all know that Ukraine is not part of NATO, but we know that strategically, technically, they are part of it, because NATO, they give them military advice, military training. They come into their off and on. Americans, they do all these things. And you just believe that the Russian will just sit and be eating and chewing their stick, knowing that they have problem. They have historical problem where they have been encroached, they have been invaded by two neighbors, 2 times by the same neighbor, Polish, and now they have the Ukraine. What is so important that the Americans, the NATO's want about Ukraine? Nobody has thought this. And that is important for the Russian people. Because they know that their integrity, their culture, their people, they know the risk. They know the risk for having these people as neighbors. So I'm not in support of Russia, Putin trying to control what the Ukrainian people or the way they should play their international politics. But let us also remember that there should be understanding. There should be mutual respect. The Ukrainian people should respect the Russian regional military power and regional military history. Just as the Russians should also respect that the Ukraine people has the right to go into any international agreement they want. But let us also understand that in international law, you cannot go into an agreement to wipe out or to attack or to use it in causing harm to any sovereign state. So the Russian people also have this perception that whatever Ukraine is doing as neighbors can implicate the Russian Federation. So these things are understandable. So now we have this problem. It is an European problem. They should be able to solve it. I don't know why everybody tends to believe that it is the world problem, the Third World War. Why should it be Third World War? We went to First World War. We know a lot of Africans that went to fight in the First World War, in the Second World War. After coming out of slavery, after coming out of what the Europeans, not only the Europeans, what the Americans, do you know how many Africans that were taken to America to work on labor without payment, brutalized, hanged, killed, families that has been erased, their traces has been erased, their culture has been erased. They took them from Africa to, we know that the Africans themselves played a role. Because I always tell people that don't miss this part of the history. Americans don't just came on African soil and just took. No, it was Africans that were selling Africans, to Americans, or to Europeans, or whatever. So we know. And some of us that came out from families that has one or two traces, one or two history about slavery, we know. Some of us, our grandfathers or grandfathers, were traders. So we Africans also play this part. But let us not come and believe that wherever anything is happening in Europe, then we all must have a solidarity with them. We all must fight their fight. But when it is happening in our backyard, they don't. Americans and British, for them to sell arms to Nigeria, they have to go through readings, they have to go through a lot of things. But they can easily sell passing arms to rebels when they want to topple the government. Yes. We all knew the role the American government played in Nigerian election in 2015. We all knew the role they played that led to the death of MKO. We all knew the role America has been playing, or British has been playing, or French has been playing in African politics. We are not talking about the Sankaras. We are not talking about the Lumumbas that they killed. Even in recent African politics. So we know a lot of wars that have been fought in African soil. Neighbors. And I will never ever forget it. I will keep saying it everywhere I have the opportunity to say. During the Civil War, the Nigerian Civil War, the Biafran Civil War, we knew what British were doing. The same flight, they dropped food for the Biafrans, and they drop arms. They take arms to the Nigerian part. You see the hypocrisy. You see the evil mind. They want two brothers to kill themselves. You get what I'm saying? So that has been the Western politics. Now you see the propaganda in the media, but you will not see anything about the racial discrimination that Africans have been suffering on the borders of Poland for trying to leave Ukraine. You will not see that on their television. You will not see that on CNN. You will not see that on BBC. You will not see it. And if you see it, it will be BBC Africa, BBC Nigeria, nonsense. You will not see it on the international one. And if you see it, they will just play it down. 15 seconds and it is the roll-off. That is the wickedness you see in international politics. Now everybody is jumping. No, stop the war. Yeah, we want them to stop the war. But it is not only the war in Ukraine. It is not only the physical war. The economic war that Africans have been fighting. Not until recently that I think Mali and Senegal, they are trying to break off from the economic war of France. Some African countries still have their deposit in French bank. So they are holding us captive physically, spiritually, mentally, socially, economically. Those things are war. And it baffles me when I see some Nigerians praying about Ukraine. Yeah, that is nonsense. We have the Boko Haram that has been destroying, killing Nigerians. We have people, Nigerians living in camps, in DIPs. And you've not been praying to God for Nigerians. If your prayer has been working, then Nigerians, nobody should be in the camps. But you are praying for Ukraine. Take off the plank in your eyes so that you can see well. Stop all this religious and bigotry, sentiment and nonsense. Africa should stand up in world politics, stand their ground. And for us to stand our ground, we should start respecting ourselves. Look at what happened at the Lekki protest. It was played down. So, all these things baffles me a lot. It baffles me. Nobody wants war. We keep saying it again. But the presence of a war is not the absence of peace. No. It's the absence of respect. It's the absence of fairness. It's the absence of equity. So the European Union, Nato or whatever, they should know that this invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation is a failure of the European politics, just as what they did in Afghanistan was a failure. They should accept it. Just like what they did in Iraq was a failure. Just like what they did in Libya was a failure. This world has always borne European failure. Slave trade was their failure. Imperialism was their failure. Every war that has been fought in this world, either directly or indirectly, the European Union, the United States of America, the British, the French, they have been involved, directly or indirectly. But they want us to chew and consume their failure. Whereas they come back to tell us stories. Okay, now, they are all sending arms to Ukraine. You're sending arms to, let me say, an estimated 30,000 military personnel to fight the Russian with about 2 million or whatever. They say Ukraine is not part of NATO, it's not part of European, they can't. But Afghanistan wasn't NATO. Libya wasn't part of NATO. Iraq wasn't part of NATO. Syria wasn't part of NATO. So why can't they go into Ukraine now? NATO should go into Ukraine. The European Union should go into Ukraine. The United States of America should go into Ukraine because they have been in Ukraine tactically, but now physically they should go in. No, because they know that it is the war between the two elephants. And who is going to suffer? The grass. And who is the grass that is suffering now? The Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian people, yes, I know their sovereignty or whatever, but they have been fooled. Let us be frank and direct. They have been fooled by NATO, they have been fooled by the American people. Now they are just leaving them on their own fate. Their destiny is in their hands. But they have been the one instigating them and everything like that. No, now they should go in there and fight with them. Even few days, the American Joe Biden was saying that the Ukrainian president should come out. They are going to give him they're going to uplift him. They're going to take him off. And the man was saying, no, I'm going to stay here. So you see the mentality. So they've created this problem. Then they want him out. That is what they do everywhere. But we are so blind and so daft to realize all this strategy that has been given the world sleepless night. It has always been the European Union. It has always been the Europeans. Why? Why? If you don't agree with their own ideology, you are barbaric, you are uncivilized. Whereas this war is very simple. It's between the communist social bloc and the capitalist bloc. That has been the war, and that will always be the war. Let us get it. If the Ukrainian people are buying to the communist or socialist mentality or socialist ideology, there won't be war. But because now they are buying to the capitalist ideology, Americans will say, no, they are civilized people, they are sovereign nation. The Afghanistan people are sovereign nation. Why did you go into it? You were looking for Saddam Hussein? We have a lot of war crime people in America or whatever, other places. You can go there, pick up Saddam Hussein and leave the rest. No, they did not want to give him up. Then why did they go into Libya? Gaddafi was a dictator, he was a terrorist. Why did they go into Iraq? Saddam Hussein was a terrorist, he was using nuclear bomb on his people. At the Black Lives Matters protest in America, the American government used the military on their civilians. People were killed. People were injured. There was unrest. But if that has been done in another country, they will criticize it. So that is the politics. That is what happens. And people just come out, jump on things and just make a hell of noise and want to buy another people's problem and want to drink Panadol on other people's problem and everything like that. We want peace. And the only way for peace to exist is for them to realize that there should be mutual respect. People should be able to respect their zonal, historical features or whatever. The Russian people, they know where they are. They are the regional or zonal champion. Just as America is, just as China is. So there should be respect. You don't sniff into people's house, sniff into people's problem. You want to be everywhere, and tomorrow you do as if you don't understand what is happening. They all understand what is happening. The Ukrainian people are just suffering and just dying. Civilians are dying because there is a block war. Don't be surprised that if this thing goes out of hand, they will start telling you in Africa to send your military to come and fight on one side or the other. But we had apartheid rule in South Africa. Nigeria was sanctioned because we were against apartheid rule. We knew. British did not allow, Nigerians were going visa free to UK before. But because of the apartheid, because Nigeria was forefront for the apartheid, against apartheid, they stopped it. So you can see what they call democracy. You can see their own vision and their own way and their own mentality of what they call democracy. It is there for your selfish interests. Cuba is enemy, Venezuela is enemy, Mali is enemy, Nigeria is enemy when you go against them. But when you do whatever they want, they do it. When they come to you, they want to impose their law. They came with a lot of law that they want to impose on the Nigerian people. Allow people to decide what they want to do. But when they did not agree to this thing, then you say, they're not going to sell arms to Nigeria because Nigeria is not trying to pass one law about homosexual, about this, about that. Yeah. We all respect your own law. We respect your own culture. But you don't respect other people's culture. You break down people's culture. We all know the direct rule and indirect rule. Probably what marvels me most is that probably because history is no more taught in Nigerian institutions and secondary school, that is why a lot of people don't understand what is playing out. Those of us that did history in our secondary school days, those of us that did government in our secondary school days, we understand. We know the impact of direct rule and indirect rule. We know the impact and what they played out, the British mentality, the French mentality, the law of assimilation and everything they brought in down there. We know why they brought the warrant chiefs to the eastern part of Nigeria when we never needed it. We know why they were pumping out in the north because they were puppets. We know everything. But I think the new generations of Nigerians, they don't have access to history, and that has been playing on us. Let us understand where we're coming from. Let us understand where we're coming from. African leaders should understand that the unity of Africa is the only surviving way for us to be respected. You can't just be going to the European nation or the United Nation, just sit there and make welcome speech and nonsense. No. Africa should be at the forefront. If you want to look at it on the basis, we are the majority. Yes. The European Union, they are minority. So why must the majority always be fighting war when the minority has conflict? The First World War, minority, conflict. Second World War, minority conflicts. But all the wars that are played out in Africa did not lead to any, they call it civil war. Civil war, regional war. But when Russia is fighting with Germany, it is world war. Let us think. Ukraine, Russia has invaded Ukraine. Yeah, it's going to lead to Third World War. But the whole European Union invaded Africa. The whole Africa. And did not lead to any world war. Because we submitted, right? People will say because we submitted. Or because some sold out. But let us understand this thing. That we cannot keep consuming their media propaganda and lies every time. We're against this war. Personally, I'm against it. I'm against the invasion. But I also understand that there should be mutual respect. There is a regional military power everywhere. You can't expect Benin Republic to just do anyhow on Nigeria. It's like that. There should be boundary respect. You understand me? Even if you want to join NATO, if Ukraine want to join NATO, but they should be dialogue with their neighbors. Ukraine and Russia, they are neighbors, they are brothers. You get what I'm saying? America, European Union are there for interests. Because they want to see a smaller Russia, a bigger European Union, and a bigger United States of America. That is it. When Ukraine, all of them were leaving Russia, it was good. That is democracy. They have to decide. But when those in Kremlin want to leave, no, they are pro-Russian, they are pro-this. When a country want to leave, when some people vote referendum, no, this is pro-Russian, no, it is Putin, it is that. But when the United Nations or when the European Union and the Americans want a path to secede from a country, then they will say, it's democracy, people can decide what they want to do, what they do. But when they don't want it, no, it is like this. Just like what is happening in Spain. The Catalans want to go, no, it's this, because they don't want it. But had it been they want it, they'll tell you, the Ukrainian people can decide, the Czech people can decide, but the Crimean people cannot decide. The people in the north of Ukraine cannot decide. Because they are pro-Russia. But in 2014, the European Union and the United States of America, they were the one that was instigating the protest. An elected government, they destroyed. They toppled an elected government. Because they were allies with the Russian. And they brought in another government. Democratically elected, yes. But they also kicked off a government and did everything. And now it is pro-Russia. Let us be fair. Let us learn to respect. Let us be fair and learn to respect. The European Union, they are the one causing the whole problem everywhere, every time from history. They are the one. They were crossing their legs when Leopoldo was entering Congo. When Leopoldo was destroying Congo, chopping off people's arms, they were crossing their legs. That is how they brought religion to us. Use it, what? To dehumanize us. They use it, what? To destroy us mentally, culturally, and everything. And I keep saying it. That is for another day, but I keep saying it. All these things are the European ideology and the European policy. The policy of what? Superiority and imperialism. That is it. God bless you. And for our Nigerian brothers in Ukraine, in Poland, that at least the social media has made it, at least in our own way. We've been able to post things, repost things. In my Facebook, I've been able to put, at least we've seen the Polish people now accepting the black people without discrimination. Because the videos has been seen, the footages has been seen. Now they are trying to show that they are good people. There's good people everywhere. There are good people everywhere. There are bad people everywhere, irrespective of your color, your nationality, your whatever. They are good, they are bad, they are ugly, they are beautiful people everywhere. Everywhere. But why is it that it is always the same people that they look double? Why is it that it is always the black, the Africans? That is why I always tell people, when you leave the shores of Africa, nobody is going to see you as a Nigerian or a Ghanaian or a Cameroonian. They see you as black, as African. And they use the same thing on everybody. Why is it? So must we share these videos? Must we bring to global attention the discrimination and racial mitigations on our people before this thing can be corrected? That is to tell you that inside them, inside, they don't really care about us. They did not love us. God bless you. This is Baba for you. Stay calm, stay cool. And always do everything based on justice, fairness, equity, equality, and mutual respect. Without that, there can never be peace. God bless you all. One love. Ciao.